I'm not getting any indication that. Let me find out if y'all can hear me this morning, because I've been marinating my thoughts in terms of what I was going to share with you this morning, in terms of living the life that God has chosen for you to live. And what really brought this about for me is that this is resurrection, and it's about raising things from the dead. And we know the traditional approach to this of Jesus being risen from the dead. But I want to talk to you about the fact that we have stuff in us that's just lying dormant, and that our bodies are the tombs. And we have been put here to do the greater work. When the disciples were amazed at the miracles that Jesus had performed, he said, "These things ye should do, and greater things shall ye do." Well, you can't do the greater work if you don't have greatness in you. So we were born for greatness. Let me see what I can do to verify that I'm on before I start and then end up talking to myself. He called my technical person. Tammy, am I on?
Loud and clear, sir.
I don't see any comments indicating that I'm on.
Because you're in full screen.
Okay. So if I did a smaller screen, I could see people's comments?
Or screen, yes.
Oh, no, that's okay. I don't need to see the comments. I just need to know I'm on. You saying that I'm on?
Yes, I'm seeing you loud and clear, sir.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Well, I'm ready to go. Thank you. I'm ready to go. Close that door. All right. I'm ready to go up in here. So I'm going to time myself. My message this morning is not a long message, but it's one that I want to speak to, that I've been reflecting on my own life. And for a long period of time, I had the ability to do things that I'm doing now, but I didn't do those things. And what we know in scripture, that Lazarus was activated by a voice, by a word. Lazarus, come forth. And so I'm saying to you that life is always asking us to come forth, that most of us are in tune with fear. Most of us are in tune with the indoctrination of living in a culture that does not recognize your humanity. Most of us have been abused and gone through things and unfortunately not recognizing the reality that there's a power in us that's more powerful than anything that we have gone through. Most of us are sitting on the sidelines of life and living an unlived life and dying an unlived life. I was talking to Willie Jolly, who wrote the book called The Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. So, and I asked him, what is it you want to achieve before you leave the planet? I said, we get to a certain age, man. We've been doing this for a long time. I'm 78 and I'm older than you, but you closing in on me. And he said, I only want to die once. What do you mean by that? And he said, and it brought me to this point, that most people die 3 times. When you live a life that God has chosen for you to live, you only die once. But most people, they die a physical death, and then they die the death of living a life that's not really living. They're surviving. And what it takes to live and what it takes to survive are 2 different things. These are people who don't know their purpose, who don't have any meaning in their lives and don't have any passion. They're not living a hard-driven life. And then the third death is when people stop talking about you because your life didn't matter. It was of no consequence. It had no impact, influence on them. So when we live the life that God has chosen us to live, we were born for greatness. And most of us allow ourselves to be restricted. Most of us go through life not knowing we were chosen out of 400 million sperm, not to be cooped up and living a small life, living a life as a victim as opposed to living life victoriously. Most of us ignore the callings on our lives. I know that I did for a long time. I was on jobs that they didn't like me and I didn't like them, and I didn't like the job. They paid me just enough to keep me from quitting, and I worked just hard enough to keep from getting fired. That's not living when you spend 40 to 60 hours a week doing something that's not you. And so I was a walking, breathing corpse, complaining about my situation, had the ability and the talents and the skills to change my situation, but it was lying dormant in me because I didn't call it up. I didn't answer the call to do something else. And I got fired constantly because I was not in my rightful place. And those people who fired me, they did me a favor. Because Marion White said that in life, when you don't have enough courage or insight to know that you've outgrown a situation and it's time to move on, life will move on you. And many times we stay in relationships where we're dying together rather than living together, not acknowledging the reality that relationships have seasons, some for a season, some for a reason, and some for a lifetime. And so there are many of us, and I've done it, been in relationships that exceeded the expiration date, that I was growing and the person that I was with, they weren't growing. We weren't going in the same direction, and we grew apart. I remember one person said to me, and I was downtown Brickell Avenue in Miami, probably around 90 degrees, said, "Get out." What do you mean, get out of the car? Why? You're a loser. Called me a loser because I was going through a tough time in pursuit of my goal and dream of becoming a nationally known speaker to inspire and motivate people to live their dreams. And when you're going for that which you want to do, you're going to go through some rough times. That's why we're reminded, think it not strange that you're faced the fiery furnaces of this world. You will, not you might, you will have tribulations, that you're going to have some pushback from life. Things are going to happen. There are people who should believe in you, should encourage you, should be there for you. And they're only there when things are going good. But if they're not going good, they abandon ship. Many times family members would do that as well. And so I got out and I walked. I could have caught a bus, but I needed to think. I had to look at myself. She called me a loser? Are you kidding me? She drove slowly by me saying, "Why don't you get a bus? Are you going to walk from here to 126th Street?" I said, "I'm fine." She said, "It's too hot out here. You can have a sunstroke." I said, "Listen, I'm fine. Go. I'll be fine." And I walked. And it took me a long time, several hours, but I walked there and I was rethinking my life. And this is a time, to me, resurrection is about rethinking our life. Am I living a life that's me? A friend of mine named Bill Wash out of South Africa, and Brian Wash, and he was talking with his father about some things that he was doing with his life, and his father asked him a key question, and the question was, "Is that working for you? Is that working for you?" And it was a rhetorical question because he knew that it wasn't. That Brian was miserable, and his life was a reflection of his thinking, of his development. And so as a result of that question, he decided to start working on himself. "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." When shall the kingdom of God come? The kingdom of God cometh not by observation. They shall say, "It's neither lo there or lo here. Behold, the kingdom of God is within you." And so most people don't spend time. Got something in my eye up in here. Come on, Murphy's Law. Leave me alone. I ain't messing with you. I'm minding my own business, doing God's work this morning. Okay. Oh my goodness. So I got these long eyelashes for my mama. So anyhow, in order to activate the potential, activate the greatness, activate the power to live your dreams, it requires putting in the work. And most people are not willing to do that. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. They just want to think it and make it happen. No, you can be positive in your thinking, but if you don't commit yourself to working, nothing works unless you work. And most people are not willing to do the work. I remember two friends of mine, and one lived in Overtown, and I went with him over to Miami Beach. He had a brother that bought a beautiful mansion on Miami Beach, and we were in a hot tub, and we were talking to each other, and the brother that I knew that lived in Overtown, he asked his older brother, "How did you get this mansion?" And the older brother looked around. He said, "Man, a lot of hard work." And my friend said, "I'm not willing to do that." Whoa. See, the ones that are living their dreams, the people that are doing the greater work, are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. And so this is a time that life is always calling us, always showing us signs of what we should do. And many times because of our environment, many times because we bought into the indoctrination of living in a culture that does not recognize and respect you, and we see the full display of that unapologetically in Nashville, in Tennessee, that it causes you to have a compromised vision of what's possible for you. And so I'll give you all your eyes can see, step out of our history into our future by holding a future and envisioning of what we want our lives to look like, and commit ourselves to doing that. Because life is hard work, and hard work, H-A-R-D and H-E-A-R-T. It's hard work. And most people don't want to do the hard work. And it's hard work. Yes, where your heart is, there your treasure is also. The reason that I believe that millions of people were told, hey, you can work from home, and then say, hey, you can come back. And they said no. Because they decided that they were going to do the hard work and the hard work. They were going to do something that was them. And I can share this with you, and speaking from a place of knowing, at 78, as of February the 17th, looking at my life, I know if I had my life to live over again, I could have done more than what I've done. And I can't unscramble those eggs. But my goal is to finish strong. My goal is to transform as many lives as I possibly can until I take my last breath. My goal is to train as many speakers that I can who have a hunger to do the greater work, to make a difference in the lives of those around them, and to create a better future for our children. Our children are in trouble. And we know that we can make a greater impact, that we are not here just to be witnesses and say, oh, ain't it awful? No, this is a different place when you don't feel safe. We don't know when our kids go to school, will they come back? I never forget when I talked to my niece who worked at the school in South Florida where they had a shooter, and she had to lead her students out of class to climb over a wall to go down to the Walmart parking lot because the shooter was in the school killing kids. And I remember how traumatized she was. And she talked about the experience of a kid knocking on the door, saying, let me in. And they had been told, if there's a shooter in the school, no matter what's going on If there's a desperate voice at the door, don't open the door. And this kid was screaming. He'd been shot in the face. Please let me in. Please. Miss Sampson, let me in. When he called her name, she said, wait, come on, the shooter don't know my name. And she opened the door and she let this kid in against the protocol and saved his life. But she also put the others' lives at risk because maybe the shooter could have asked somebody who's in that room. But she said she couldn't do it. And then they had to find out, how are we going to get out of here? This is not normal. I don't care how often it happens. It will never be a normal. It's always abnormal when our children are not. When I was in school, I remember talking to one of my daughters who was teaching. She said, I can't do this anymore. If I go another day, Daddy, I'll die. And Samia said one time I was talking to her, I got to go now. And I said, what's wrong? We got to have a drill. And what kind of drill? In the event a shooter comes into school. When I was in school, we had fire drills. Fire drills. And the bell would be ringing and you had to go out and stand in the parking lot until the fire drill was over, showing us what to do if a fire broke out in the school. Now, our kids, teachers, there's some states that are saying teachers should have guns so they can shoot back if a shooter's in the school. And so now our kids are being given coaching and instructions on where to run and where to hide if a shooter comes into the school. And they said, well, keep the doors locked. Well, this last shooter, and I was in Nashville at the time, shot the doors and got in. And so we don't know. Unpredictable violent behavior in service stations, in grocery stores, in road rage, in parking lots, over parking spaces. This is different. And so in order to me, we have to, one, resurrect a mindset that we can deal with this, that we have the power. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power. We have the power to handle this. Evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. We have the power to handle this. Cultures of violence are created by people, and they can be changed by people when they begin to live their lives from the power that they have within themselves to come together to resolve it and to change the culture and the collective thinking of people. Power and of love. That many people are dying a death a second time after their physical death because they're not doing what's in their heart. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. Where your heart is, you start living a purpose-driven life. You're not doing what they love, they're just doing it to pay the bills. Working just hard enough to keep from getting fired, and they're paid just enough to keep them from quitting. A contract of mediocrity. You don't live just trying to put food on the table and roof over your head. Life has a greater meaning for that. You were chosen. There's something in you. There's something that you have that no one else, they don't have that. You got that. And that when you die and don't bring it here, we all suffer. And as long as you got a pulse, Rabbi Yitzi, he is a rabbi, father, he is a husband, and developed a crippling disease. And all he has going for him, the movement of his eyes. He can't talk. Used to sing, used to dance, very active, charismatic rabbi. But all he has left, the movement of his eyes. And he trained himself. He learned how to operate a computer with the movement of his eyes. I read a piece he did called Breaking Through the Darkness. And all he's using, eye movements. He's strengthening what's left. All of us as we get older, all of us as we go forward in life, going to be stripped of things going to be stripped of people, going to be stripped of talents, abilities, and skills. All of us. Life is coming for us every day. Life be lifing. The doctor looked at me and said, "You have cancer. Your PSA is 2,400. It's metastasized to 7 areas of your body." No one ever wants to hear that. Life be lifing. And I had to deal with it. A lot of people unplug and get into drugs and alcohol and entertainment and other distractions. But there are few, and I know the few that's who's listening to me can hear me in your heart, not just in your ear, but you can hear me. And that's who I'm talking to. The road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it. Because few there be that are willing to listen. Few there be that are willing to push their excuses aside and decide, I'm not going to be a worrier, I'm going to be a warrior. Few there be that are willing to stand up and fight for what they want. Few there be that will have the courage of this white woman in Tennessee who stood with two African Americans, the Tennessee Three, and they expelled the 2 black legislators. And they asked her, "Why didn't they expel you?" She said, "You, it's obvious, I'm white." That took courage for her to say that. That took courage. And because the other legislators didn't realize the media exposure of this and calling attention to other things that they've been doing, where these black legislators weren't even allowed to speak in committee hearings. I used to be a state legislator. And if they gave them 5 minutes to speak, they would turn their mics off. Just totally disrespectful. And unapologetically racist to their bones, to their hearts. And so when you look at life, this thing called life, you have to decide, I'm going to live my life on my terms. I got the power to do more than I can ever begin to imagine. And so when you live from that place, you can do the greater work. When you find something that you love, something that resonates with you, you can begin to live a life that will outlive you. Power, love, and a sound mind. You can't be in a sound mind when you're running scared. You can't be in a sound mind when you're not working and reading and developing yourself and being actively engaged in life day in and day out. As long as you got a pulse, as long as you are breathing, you are still here. You can still make a difference. Our children are 40% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. And so Rabbi Yahtzee, he's proving, hey, if you can't do anything but move your eyes to make a computer right for you, you still have a voice that needs to be heard. Life is not playing with us. And what's so heartbreaking sometimes is just how the culture that we're in, we've been indoctrinated with an addiction for entertainment, which is escapism from reality. People talking about who's the GOAT, and they're amateurs in their own lives. And when you put on the pandemic, and then you look at what's happening in Ukraine, and then you look at artificial intelligence, the people that's intimidated by ChatGPT, one, they don't have a growth mindset. They're not working on themselves and learning how to stay ahead of technology. And the other thing is, the P stands for passion. They have not found something that's theirs, that they can do it so well. They love it so much, they do it for nothing, but do it so well that people will pay them to do it because that's what's in their heart. That's who they are. That's what they do. And T stands for tenacity. That's what is required to stay ahead of technology and anything else that's out here. That's what the people who used to work for General Motors, and when they automated, they lost thousands of jobs in Detroit. But they came back. And people will come back after this. We have the ability to rethink our lives. We have the ability to reinvent ourselves. We have the ability to understand and adhere to the words that says, if a man is to gain his life, he must lose his life. There's certain things that we can no longer do because it's off limits. It's from that old school of thinking that won't serve us now. This is a new order, a new place that requires elevation of our thinking, elevation of our thoughts, elevation of our behavior, elevations of our relationships and our environment. There's some people you need to get away from them because they're not good for you, including family members and your children. I realized that the part of my life that I started working to rethinking and thinking about where I am and where I want to be and the kind of legacy that I want to live. And I realized I could have been doing so much more work if I had not taken on secondary activity, taking on things that was not my stuff. It's as you get older, you learn to say no, figure it out. And this is the time. Life is calling you, come forth. You got some stuff in you, but I don't know what to do. Figure it out. Come forth. You have greatness in you, but where do I start? Just commit yourself to work, and the rest will come. You'll find a way. If you're going in the wrong direction, turn around, and you'll be going in the right direction. Come forth. Let go or be dragged of toxic, negative people who don't have goals and dreams, who just want all the glitz and glamour and the things, but don't understand the sense of spirituality, that life is coming for you, and that you have joy, that your strength cometh from the Lord, that helps you to weather the storms of life, because it's a part of life. And so when you are moving from a place of peace, I'll keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, not on your problems, not on your challenges, not on your situation, no, whose mind is stayed on thee. Love, when you're living a hard-driven life. God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. And you are in harmony with yourself. When you love yourself, you take better care of yourself, and you treat people with respect. You hold yourself to a higher standard of integrity, and you have the can't helps it, that there's certain things that you know that you can do and you should do. And you want to be about your Father's business on this day, and not just engage in some symbolic celebration. Sunday comes. Yeah, it's here. But every day we have to look at, what can I do to make this the best day of my life? What can I do to live a life that will outlive me? What can I do to push back the tomb and step out of my fears into my faith? What can I do to push back the tomb of excuses and have a solution-driven life? If you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. What can I do to push away from people that are not going in the direction that I'm going, and align myself with people who have goals and dreams, and who are hungry and relentless and unstoppable, and are determined to live a life that will outlive them? What can I do to stand up? Therefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, that having done all to stand. Yeah, this is the time to stand, not to play dead, not to die a life that does not matter and has no consequence and has not made a mark. No. This is a special day that we're given, the privilege of life, the privilege of breathing, the privilege to rethink our lives and activate that we have in us, that God said, 40 million sperm. I want that one. I want that one. I'm going to deploy that one to the earth. Yeah. We've been indoctrinated to be employed, but we were deployed to make the world a better place, to do the greater work. We were deployed. sent here on purpose. You're a masterpiece because you're a piece of the master. Take the time to work on you. But I've been doing it less and so much has happened. What do you do when you pray and your prayers are not answered? Mary McLeod Bethune answers that best for me. Pray as if everything depends upon God, and work as if everything depends upon you. Come forth! Come forth. Our children need you. Somebody paid a price for us to be here. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chesting rod, thought of the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We've come over a way that with tears have been watered. We've come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Come forth! You have something special. You have greatness in you. Rob this cemetery of your greatness.
I want to talk about that, writing a new chapter. So you've talked about the little voice that people have, the need to create quiet space to hear that. Combine that with the notion of the culture sort of chipping away at people, and whether it's based on race and oppression, or whether it's just the school system teaching you to be a good cog in the machine, or whatever other things people have to fight against. How can people that are listening to this now, especially if they're an adult that's got all those labels put on them, that's had their creativity squished, what process do they do to hear the voice? What sort of communion can they do to create that imagination that's going to allow them to get out of that and move towards something new?
That's the reason why you designed this program, you and your team, for them to do that they have to expose themselves to something that will give them a different vision of themselves. And in addition to that, they have to put themselves in a community of what I call OQP, only quality people. A gentleman who dramatically transformed my life. I was a junior at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami, Florida. And I went in his class looking for another friend, and he said, go to the board and work this problem out for me. I said, sir, I can't do that. He said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, do it anyhow. And the other kids started laughing, saying, he's Leslie, he's DT. And he said, what's DT? His brother is smart, but he's the dumb twin. And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk and he pointed at me, he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And he taught me three things. He said, if you want to become successful in life, young man, he said, number one, you got to change your mindset. He said, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Number two, practice OQP, only quality people. You earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. I found that out. I left all my broke friends. I said, y'all got to go. Because I used to be so broke, I'd pass a bank and trip the alarm, And the third thing he said, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. He said, those are three major things that you want to work on that will liberate you from living in Liberty City, living in poverty in Overtown. It will help to escape out of where you are right now, because I see you watching me and I know you want more. I can see the hunger in your eyes. That's why my book is about to come out called You Gotta Be Hungry.
I love that notion. I love that title. So how do people get hungry?
You get hungry by finding something that's you. I believe that all of us are born unique, but most of us die copies. You got to find out what is it that turns you on, what resonates with you. One of the things that I realized and what allowed me to become successful as a speaker, the speaking industry has been hijacked by people who speak to sell, and it's okay to do that and make money. I speak to change lives because somebody spoke and changed my life. So this is my passion. This is my drive. This is something that I feel in my heart. And so the key to that hunger-driven life is a heart-centered life. I didn't do what I'm doing for years because of my programming, because of the culture in which I was raised in. I would see other people with degrees and PhDs and MBAs and credentials I don't have, and I convinced myself I couldn't do it. But Mr. Washington, on that day, we became friends, and he taught me not only someone's opinion of you does not have to determine your reality. He said that you have to work on yourself and you have to have an unstoppable attitude, and no excuse is acceptable, and you got to make it a priority, a non-negotiable in your life, and hold a constant vision of what it is you want to achieve. See it accomplished and go all out. Find a way to win. In spite of the setbacks, in spite of the disappointments, in spite of your failures. I tell people when I'm giving presentations, you will fail your way to success. I have a saying, is life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And so those experiences of going after goals that's beyond your comfort zone, and having relationships that will challenge you, and surrounding yourself with coaches and mentors who can take you to a place within yourself that you can't go by yourself because you can't read the label when you're locked in the box. And so those experiences, they challenge you to go to that next level and continue to move forward in your life, doing new and exciting things that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you when you live a heart-centered life, deciding that you're going to live a life that will outlive you. You're going to live a life that counts, a life that will build a legacy and change the planet. You know, Horace Mann said, we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. And so my goal is to make a major contribution to humankind. I am a father of 10, 5 boys and 5 girls. So I'm suing the people who came up with the rhythm method. The rhythm method don't work. You know, I've got rhythm, but the rhythm method does not work. Okay? And I have 15 grandchildren and 4 great-grandsons. And so every day when I get up, my mindset is, what is it that I can do to touch and impact somebody's life today? What is it? What does that look like? Like seeing you, I'm so excited. I started doing push-ups. I said, well, I'm going to go on. He's going to see that I got muscles too.
Man, what you've done with your mental muscles is so extraordinary. I don't know that you need to worry about anything else.
I mean, I've never heard of a bigger speaker than you as an African-American man, especially earlier on. Like when I was watching YouTube videos, the African is only was you, right? It wasn't and you were like, what kept you hungry for more, as if not settling? Like, you know,
I am so glad you asked me this question, because I'm working with a brother named Odell, who's very, very talented brother, helping people to get into the speaking business. And he invited me as a guest. And I asked them, I said, I wanted you to listen to me. I want to ask you, why do you want to speak? And Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you can almost endure almost anyhow. I wanted to be able to take care of my mother. I promised my mother, here I am. I'm one of 7 children that she took out of foster care, and she adopted us. And I said, Mama, what is it, Leslie? When I become a man, I'm going to take care of you. You won't ever go to a nursing home. She used to work in a nursing home, and she always said she never wanted to go to a nursing home. I was elected to the Ohio legislature, and my sister called me and said, Leslie, are you sitting down? And I asked, what's wrong with Mama? She said, Mama's got breast cancer. I said, I'll be right there. She said, you can't. I said, what do you mean? You just got reelected to the Ohio legislature. You're the chairman of the education committee. And they're grooming you to run for statewide office. I said, I enjoy politics, but I love Mama. Leslie, they got nice nursing homes here. I said, listen to me. So I had a problem. How can one woman raise 7 children that she didn't give birth to, and 7 grown people can't take care of one woman? I said, I'll be there.
Wow.
And so I resigned from the Ohio legislature. I went back to Miami. I'll never forget, a friend of hers named Miss Mildred was there. And I rang the doorbell, and she came to the door, and she said, "Oh, my God, Leslie." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I heard my mother ask in the background, "Mildred, who's that?" And she said, "It's Leslie." And I heard my mother say, "I knew he would come. I knew he would come." And so I'm saying to people who say they want to speak, have a reason. Whatever goal you have, you want to have your own business, you want to do something major with your life, have something that you can anchor yourself on that gives your life a sense of purpose and meaning. In the German concentration camps in Auschwitz, in Viktor Frankl's book called Man's Search for Meaning, he said the Jews that were able to survive the inexpressible cruelties of Nazism, they either had some loved one that they were determined to see, or some spiritual development that they anchored themselves into, or some cause that they believed in, that it would not break their spirit.
Yeah.
And so when I
read
went
that
on
book.
this
He
trip,
was walking in that snow for a long time.
yeah, man.
He was different.
Yes, and so people who have purpose, they're different. If you don't have purpose, something
That's
to
another
anchor
level of
yourself
purpose
to.
stuff.
Absolutely.
What they was going through. That man
what
was,
we went through.
Yeah.
You think about what James Weldon Johnson said, "Stony the road we trod, bitter the chesting rod, fell in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered." We went through the worst form of man's inhumanity to man in the world. No one had ever gone through that. Auschwitz, that can't even compare to what has been done to us, and they're trying to revisit that place again. And so, but we are the descendants of the ones that would not die.
Wow.
And so there is something in us, there's something in you and I, the irreducible essence of who we are, that no matter what life throws at us, that we will rise, as Maya Angelou would say.
Wow. Let me ask, right now, what are you doing now? Are you still reading? Are you still
Yes, I read 30 to 40 pages a day,
Wow, what you
every
tapping
day.
into right now?
What I'm reading now and revisiting
And give me your
is
top 3 all-time favorite books.
The Road to Your Best Stuff by Mike Williams.
Okay.
I wrote the foreword for that because he saw me. He took this guy who never knew his father, and it was a 2 years difference between us, but he was like a father to me, and he helped me to make some good decisions. There were periods in my life I was temporarily insane. Okay, let's round the bat about town. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. So he found me and he helped to groom me, okay, and get the crazy out. And so, but the other book that I love very much, it's called As a Man Thinketh.
So we'll see. James Allen, right?
James Allen,
Yeah.
yes. And they have a version As a Woman Thinketh. And another book that I enjoy is The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, because we have been miseducated. If you look at what's going on now, when you have people actively working to take our history out of the books, why? When you have a strong sense of identity, that gives your life a sense of purpose. And when your life has a sense of purpose, that gives your life a sense of direction. So we have been groomed to be spectators, to consume entertainment, as opposed to consuming information and educating ourselves in this era of accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. It's a new place. And so we have to do what you're doing, and your partners and people who've been watching you, is make artificial intelligence our ally. We were created by the Creator to create. And so there's a part of us that this place demands that we step up and step away from the behaviors that does not represent the greatness that is within us.
That's good.
And challenge us to dig within to bring out the next greatest version of ourselves. You think about Lion King, Simba, you are more than that which you have become. And this is what your program is about. You are more than that which you have become. Are you talking about me and I can't even find a job, but I just got out of jail? Yeah, you got greatness in you. And so as we bring that mantra over and over again and deliver it to people in a way that they can hear it at all levels, we are able to change the culture. Cultures are treated by people and they can be changed by people. When you look at the killings that are taking place in Atlanta and around the country, that it represents the collective thinking of people. And there's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. So we've been groomed for discard, to hate ourselves. And so when you have something that says you have greatness in you, it causes you to ask yourself, am I in alignment with what I'm hearing? And what is it I need to do? And if a man is to gain his life, he must lose his life. We got to die to who we have been to give birth to who we are to become. You will get to see a future that I won't get to see. But the things that I'm learning and doing, you're going to take it to a whole new level. And those who are watching now, because of the fact that I'm here because of Miles Monroe, I'm here because of Dr. Benjamin Mays. I'm here because of Malcolm X and Dr. King. And so we're standing on shoulders of giants, and Dr. Andrew Young. And so as we're moving forward in the future, this communication with us, this is major.
Yeah, I was just actually a guest. I went to the mayor's event, and I was a guest of Dr. Andrew Young, one of my friends. That's how I got him through them, so it was pretty cool.
Yes.
I met him and his wife, so.
Yes, wonderful couple. I saw them at the event recently with our very good friend, John Hope Bryant.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man.
Yes, he is. Yes,
he's no nonsense.
Absolutely. And I just love the standards that he has and how he's held himself to a higher standard. And to hear a brother like you who can hold a conversation. And I train kids. I'm going to be doing a training with some kids this summer. And I teach them that profanity is the strongest expression of a weak mind.
Wow. That's good.
When you hear so many of these athletes, our kids are watching them. They're heroes. And they just use profanity one after the other, the females as well as the guys. And words matter. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Thou shalt decree a thing, it shall be established unto you. And so your languaging style, it affects people. It creates a certain kind of mindset and says a lot about how you see yourself.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, you're watching your stuff has helped me, just really seeing how you've done it and just it's motivated me to get better. So I just always want.
Well, you motivated me. I came up in here. I said, you know what? I thought I had a studio. I got a stoop. I ain't got no studio.
That's why they said, hey, I want to do it virtually, and I got a whole virtual setup. But I said, nah, I need him to come in. I got to meet the GOAT in person. We got to do this conversation face to face.
Oh, we're gonna do a partnership. This is the beginning of a relationship. This is a God moment for me. I feel so honored to be in your presence.
No, same, man. No, so yeah, I'm grateful, man. I want to ask you, like right now, I mean, you're literally. Like every day, you're living out like people's dreams. Like there's so many people listening to this, and they're not living out their dreams. What would be your word for them? There's so many people that I don't like. It's a thing where it's like they're motivated, they're inspired, but I feel as though they don't believe they can do it. Like there's a concept where people are...
But because of our mental conditioning. So
how you get out of that mental condition? Like I spent years, I'm reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Who Move My Cheese, Think and Grow Rich. Like I'm digging in deep. I have your books on my shelf, like digging in deep. So I've been able to develop for years.
Yes, but here's what you're doing. The reason that we're taught the road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it. You're among the few, because most people won't put in the time to read. I remember listening to this lecture, and this guy said, the average American reads 1 book a year. If you read 1 book a month in 5 years, you would have read 60 books then the average American would have read 5 books. That will make you an expert. So I said, okay, I'm gonna read 3 a month. Why? I don't have any college education. I was labeled educable mental retarded. I was put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, and I failed again in the 8th grade at Booker T. Washington High School. My goal was not to be a black speaker. My goal was to be a dominant speaker. I wanted to speak for AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric, IBM, Xerox. And so I wanted to do what Mr. Washington said. Mr. Brown, you want to make it in life? I said, yes, sir. He said, number 1, develop your mind. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Number 2, practice OQP, only quality people. You earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. If you run around with 9 broke people, he said, I guarantee you, you will become number 10. And he said, number 3, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. He was so right. I was at a convention with a major pharmaceutical company in Fort Lauderdale, and I saw this sign called the Danger Zone. And I just finished speaking for this company, and I asked him, what does the danger zone mean? And he said, we're teaching and training doctors who are coming in from around the world how to convince their patients to take their hypertension medication so that they won't have a stroke or heart attack. So I asked him, do you have hypertension? He said, yes. I asked him, why do you take your medication? He said, I want to live. I said, well, why are you having a fear-based campaign? He said, that's a good point. He said, can you train doctors? I said, absolutely. You got to have absolute faith. That contract, 16 speaking engagements, 1 month. They even flew me to Sweden, $640,000.
Wow.
When I was in Sweden, someone raised their hands and said, Dr. Brown, will we ask you a question? And the host said, he's not a doctor. He's not? No, in fact, he was labeled educable mentally retarded. How does he know so much about what we do? He did research. We can tell when he talked about going from one patient to the other, stopping and looking at their name on the clipboard and going there and talk to them and make sure you touch their hand. That decreases the possibility of a malpractice suit being filed against you by 26%. He did his research.
Wow.
That's the value of never let what you want to say get in the way of what someone else wants to hear. The doctors were there talking from a medical perspective, but they didn't get to know the man who wrote the check.
Wow.
That makes a difference.
Yeah. Wow.